Thank you, God, for this life. Yes. When we talk, we pray. So I pray. Most people will never experience real power. You know why? Because they don't even know what it looks like. Because they're asleep while it's being built. But you, you're here. You're already ahead. You made the choice to rise, to separate, to execute. Welcome. This is Roar 4, Epoch 1, Day 67. My beautiful people. It's Saturday, and usually Saturday is about reflection, but today, this ain't just reflection, it is separation. Most people reflect like a mirror. They just replay what they see. But the real reflection, the real hard reflection, it's like a motherfucking microscope, man. It exposes the details, the cracks, the flaws, the divide. And today, that's exactly what we're doing. We are exposing the divide between who's really running their system and who's just playing along, play pretending. The ones who move, the ones who hesitate, the ones who control, the ones who get controlled. You either run the system or the system runs you. Which side are you really on? Because today we divide. Now I want to get into our standard mode. I'm going to get open and honest and reflect with you and take you back to the moment that changed everything and started my divide. But I really want to ensure that I say something, maybe for myself. Maybe I need to hear it out loud. Maybe I need to get it off my chest. And maybe you feel it the same way. The beauty, I believe, of the Do-You rules, a lot of the reason we're here, for the divide, why we are in war mode, why we have rules and laws, why God is root, why faith is the operating system, why will is security, and why loyalty is our protection, is because I really do believe many more of us try a lot more than we get credit for. It's just when it comes to the divide, a lot of us find ourselves in the middle. A lot of ourselves find ourselves really trying to do what we can. Real and truth, straight up just honest people trying to do honest things. And I think the middleman and the man in the middle sort of gets lost in the sauce in all this, in that we're not high enough to be exposed in the light and the stage that society says is stage worthy, and we're not low enough to be in the light and the stage that society believes is light worthy. There's this great paradox, it appears to be, at least to me, that in order to receive attention in the way that fulfills us socially, or in the way that we create our root, which is God, the system that we operate on, our faith, our will to have honor and to remain loyal and steadfast, a lot of that is right in the middle. But we're making such an honest attempt to just ensure that we don't fall too down to the light of the bottom and somehow we can't see the light that gets us to the tippy top, we almost mute ourselves because we know what it takes to sustain. And while this movement, we talk about maintainers and creators and how we don't want to be in the mode of maintaining, the reality sometimes is a lot of us who at least make it to the center in the middle between the light of the low and the light of the high, it takes so much energy and effort that doesn't get recognized, that the light doesn't really shine on, that doesn't feel as ironically fulfilling as the tippy top, and that the bottom could even be fulfilling, in that the more tragic, the more broken, the more difficult, the more exposure it seems to get. Those are the sympathy symphonies I refer to. And then, of course, there's the explosion to the very top that very few get. And in the middle, left between both those options, what do you do? What do you do? And I believe none of us in the middle think there's anything wrong with us per se. It's just more so, it's really hard to get to the middle. It's just as hard to keep it. And it's really scary to look back, and it's awfully difficult to look ahead. So what are we left to do? I think we just keep doing you. I think we consider what the rules of doing you mean to you: God, faith, honor, loyalty. Today we divide. Today we divide because I believe in you the way I believe in me. And I believe in you and whatever it is you want to be. There's no judging. Let me take you back. We're talking about the divide. We're talking about a moment. Let me take you back to that moment for me that changed everything, because I am like you, no different. There was a time where I stood at the line myself. Two choices: move or stay exactly where I was. And I remember staring at the decision, knowing, I just felt it, like this is going to define me. This is a monstrous moment that will absolutely define me. It wasn't about talent. It wasn't about potential. It wasn't about commitment. It was just in that moment, I had to decide, will I be the same, or will I find a new way to execute? That moment was my God moment, my direct message. Because you see, not every transformation comes from rock bottom. Not every story is about crawling out of the abyss. Some of us, we escape through sheer will. Some of us, we grind our way out, blind to better tools, sacrificing strategy for survival. Because sometimes success hides sin. You don't see it when you're in it. You just keep crawling, just keep digging, just keep pushing. Some of us are already moving, already winning, at least on paper. From the outside, we look great. Socially, generationally, personally, by every metric, we've made leaps others never will. But here's the really real and the truth. Success doesn't mean righteousness. You can be miles ahead and still be miles away from who you should be. I look back at my journey and I saw it. The omissions, the compromises, the godlessness. the moves I made, the moments I ignored, the sins I justified. I wasn't lost. I was just blind to how I was winning, because sins of omission go unnoticed until they don't. And one day, God speaks. When he did, it wasn't about lack of talent. It wasn't about lack of vision, lack of drive, or lack of execution. It was about how, how I was moving. Could I be doing it better? Could I be a better example? Could I be more in control of what God truly meant to me? That was the moment I knew I couldn't get back the time I lost. I couldn't undo the past as much as I want to and wanted to. But clearly I had a choice. Keep winning the same way or step into a higher level. It wasn't about whether my success would continue. I was always and will always be successful. It was about whether I'd be able to live with how I got it. You feel what I'm saying? And when I really sat with that, I knew if I stayed on that path, I'd end up hating myself. So I had to choose. Continue winning, but at a higher standard. Not by holding on to old habits, not by clinging to the masks that got me here, not by excusing what I knew was wrong, even if it meant being a hypocrite to my past, even if it meant people saw me as a fraud for changing, even if it meant I deserved to be burned for the sins I have committed. Because the problem isn't the goal, the problem isn't the dream. The problem is whether you have the balls or the guts to step forward when it matters most. So that day, I chose a higher level of execution. God as root. No root, no system. Faith is operation. Doubt deletes the code. Honor as security. No cracks, no compromise. Loyalty as protection. No slips, no switches. No turning back, no hesitation, because hesitation is self-erasure. And that's the thing. Most people think the battle is won just by moving. But moving without alignment, that's just running in circles. That is where the real test begins. We're going to talk about the execution divide. But let's check the chat. Who's with us in the chat? If this makes it to you later in the comment sections, contribute. Why join a community? Why click subscribe? Why get notifications to be idle? Think about what that means when we do that. Those little micro habits that we overlook. Click, you committed and did nothing about it. Don't be here for that. I'd rather a community of none than a community of all that does nothing. Just to say I'm here. You think I get up at this time because it feels good and it looks good? No, I do it because I'm committed. I do it because I believe. So if I'm gonna decide to believe in you and try to provide value to you, and it's not reciprocal, bounce. Because I don't want that, need that, or feel that anyway. I talked about it. We're creating a network of beautiful people. Everybody's beautiful in their own way. If you don't want to contribute, bounce. It's not to suggest we all got to be loud. But if you want to lock in, lock in. You want to commit, commit. You don't got to write diatribes. You don't got to be the loudest. But use this as a way to weaponize yourself towards action. Every little comment you make that you put out into the ether, that you put here in this network of people, we use it to build. We use it to raise ourselves. I am like you, no different. I am no better. Together. It only works together. It only works together. There's nothing I've ever been a part of, no success I've ever achieved, no title, no business, no nothing that doesn't come with a collective. You're all part of a collective anyway. And if you're going to be down, contribute. For yourself. For yourself. It's Saturday and you sleeping in, ain't you? Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, if you want to motivate yourself, you want to feel like it's no competition because it's no competition. 4 o'clock on a Saturday. Reflect on that. Reflect on that. Contemplate that. Let's talk about the execution divide. I don't need you to believe me. I don't need you to listen or hear. I already know this truth from God. Every single person hits the line of separation where the talk ends and the action begins, where intentions collapse under pressure and only movement remains. You want the real? Most people, they get to the line and freeze. They hesitate, they overthink, they retreat. They convince themselves they're not ready. They look for permission instead of proof. Permission. God's already blessed you. But some, they step forward, but without alignment. That's why we need each other. They move, but they move recklessly. They chase success, but ignore what it's costing them. How do I know this? I know because I did it. I did it. I executed. I pushed forward. I fought through barriers. But I never stopped to ask if I was moving the right way. What are your standards? What are your laws? And that's why most will never cross over the right way. Because once you step past that line, everything changes. And if you're still carrying the weight of misaligned execution, that line becomes a trap, not an elevation. Then true madness ensues. You can't operate like the masses. You can't think like the hesitant. You can't move like the stagnant. But you also can't move blindly. You are either executing with alignment or you are lost in motion. If you're here, you've already felt it. The gap between those who move and those who don't. Let's affirm this. The line is drawn. I stand on execution. The line is drawn. I stand on execution. We need God right now, at least a God story, to talk about the moment of separation. Because somehow I think you think this is new. You think this concept is modern. God has been showing us this divide since the beginning of time. You know who my favorite in the book is? Moses. We go back to that very popular story. Think about Moses. Be there with Moses. Front like you could be Moses. When the Red Sea stood in front of them, the people hesitated. They saw the water, the impossible. They wanted to be free, but they froze. What did Moses do? He stepped forward. He executed. And because of that move, the sea split open. You see, God doesn't reward hesitation. God rewards those who move. Even when they don't see the full path yet, faith doesn't wait for proof. Faith builds proof through movement. And if you're standing at the execution divide, wondering if you should go forward, understand this. God doesn't move for those who stand still. So where you at? Because I believe there's 3 types of people at the line. The talkers. They stand at the line and they make excuses. The pretenders, they step forward. But they run back at the first sign of resistance. The executors, they cross over and never look back. The misaligned movers, they execute, but at a cost they don't see until it's too late. So where are you standing? Because if you're not executing the right way, you're just another spectator. Or worse, you're a blind runner. Try that. And this, what we're doing here on the Do You Rules, Raw 4. This is a war for dominion over self. Now, let me give you a strategic analogy. This is where you immerse. This is where you consider. This is where you contemplate. This is called the bridge that doesn't exist. Imagine you're standing on one side of a canyon, divided. The other side is everything you've ever wanted: discipline, power, execution, legacy. You're told there's a bridge. There's a bridge. But when you look, there's nothing there. Just open space. Most people, they wait, they think, let me see it first. Let someone else go first. Let me get proof. But the ones who cross over, they understand something different. The bridge only appears after you take the first step. That's execution. That's faith. That's movement. And if you're standing on the edge waiting for a sign, understand this. The sign is already in your hands and it's in your heart. It's just waiting for you to move. We need a moment of truth. You don't cross the line by accident. You don't stumble into execution. You either choose it or you don't. And if you don't choose execution, you're already choosing defeat. No more theory, no more hesitation. You're either moving or you're dying in place. You're either running the system or the system is running you. You either cross the line or you fade into irrelevance. But even more than that, you either cross the line with integrity or you cross it blind and pay for it later. Some step forward just to say they moved. But when the smoke clears, they don't like where they landed. Because execution without alignment is just disguised destruction. The real moment of truth isn't just crossing the line. It's knowing why you're crossing it and who you are on the other side. My beautiful people, we have to have takeaways and make this actionable. So consider an execution challenge. What you must do today. Now that you see where you stand, you're standing somewhere. What's the next move? Because reflection without action is just staring at a mirror waiting for it to change. Talking isn't enough. Thinking isn't enough. Even understanding isn't enough. So here's your mission. Identify one area where you've been hesitating. Something you know you need to do. Set a deadline, a 24-hour deadline to execute on it. No delays, no excuses, just action. Then contribute or not. Lock in, comment, write it down, journal it. I don't care. Text it. Just make it real. If you don't execute today, what makes you think you'll execute tomorrow? And that you'll even get it tomorrow. The arrogance. You are 24 hours closer to the moment where hesitation dies. You are 24 hours away from the point of no return. This is the final separation. This is the last warning. This is the call to war. Most people, they wait for a perfect time. Most people, they sit on the fence until the wind pushes them over. Most people, they never cross. 24 hours. That's it. No more chances. No more waiting. No more delays. Today, tomorrow, and every day you execute or you expose yourself. Today, tomorrow, and every day you move or you admit you never wanted it. This is it. The do you rules. The war on ourselves is here. What side will you be on? I know it's hard. So we need covenants. We need commandments. We need laws. So here's the final commandments before you execute. God. God is the root system. Without him, nothing holds. Faith is the operating system. If you hesitate, your system crashes. Honor is the security protocol. Without it, you cannot be trusted. Loyalty is the firewall. No deviation, no betrayal. But none of it matters if you don't execute. So I ask you again, will you cross the line or will you get left behind? You either run the system or the system runs you. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.